So we've had some really interesting conversations so far at Scottish Renewables Offshore Wind 2024. And now we're going to find out about some of the challenges of really building out multi-billion pound projects in Scotland. So Peter, remind me, tell me a little bit about the footprint of Ocean Winds in the UK.
So in the UK, Ocean Winds has the Moray East project in operations. That project finished construction in 2021. We are constructing the Moray West project. It's a similar size, 850 megawatt project in the Moray Firth. And then through the ScotWind leasing rounds, we are developing the Caledonia project, which is also in the Moray Firth, and we're targeting to develop 2 gigawatts in that site. And we also have the Arven development site off the coast of Shetland, which is another approximately 2 gigawatts of floating that we're looking to build out into the future. So,
and in terms of capex, can you tell us a little bit about what it means for these projects?
Well, the whole lifetime of the project for Caledonia, for example, would be well over £3-4 billion, depending on the size of the project that we build. Arven for floating, the magnitude for floating is even bigger. So, we're talking potentially double-digit billions that we're looking to invest in our Scottish projects between the whole portfolio. So
superb. But there must be massive opportunities for the supply chain.
Yeah, we're really pleased with the impact that we've had already. So for Moray East, we're operating the project out of Fraserburgh. That's had a lot of benefits in that area for operating the wind farm. Similarly, for Moray West, we're developing a base in Buckie to operate that site. And then through the construction phase, these projects generate huge amounts of activity just for the onshore civils, at the local ports in the Cromarty Firth. A lot of fabrication scopes in the UK. So at the moment, for the big ticket items, we've got blades being manufactured in Hull for Moray West, the substation topsides for Moray West, that completed fabrication of 2 of these structures down at Wallsend in Newcastle. A huge amount of consultancy scopes in the Central Belt. Our own office, where we have 150 people in Edinburgh. So the reach of the projects across the country is massive in all sorts of different specialisms and construction jobs, professional services, everything. It's a huge impact these projects have.
And of course, we were delighted that Ocean Winds took the principal sponsorship of the Renewable Energy Careers Fair, which we organised back in November. How was the reaction to that, Peter?
Yeah, really positive. It was quite close to our office, so there was quite a few people who managed to attend that one, and it seemed that it had a really, really positive effect, and a lot of ex-service people who turned up to that event as well. It's part of I guess an initiative we're trying to do to try and get more and more people into the industry. We need more people to develop all these projects and meet all these targets. It's going to require a huge number of people to enter that workforce in renewables, either through graduate schemes or people retraining. So that was just part of that whole initiative for us, and I think we're really positive about the outcome of that one.
Brilliant, thank you again. And look, so we've mentioned the opportunity being massive and the growth, which is great to see, but what are the major challenges that you see, Peter?
I think we've seen over the last 5 years, so say for example, when we were developing Moray East, there was a lot of capacity in the supply chain to meet what was happening in offshore wind at that time in the latter part of the last decade. So Moray East, we developed and had options for vessels, options for fabrication yards. What we've seen more recently is that as offshore wind has grown outside of the UK and outside of the North Sea, the capacity in the supply chain has just shrunk enormously, or the spare capacity, and that's really posing challenges and increasing the risk for these projects. It'll be interesting to see, there's a lot of ambition for offshore wind between now and 2030 and into the next decade. It's whether the supply chain can keep up with that growth and the targets for development. Especially, at the moment, there's a lot of fixed build out at gigawatt scale. How that could happen for gigawatt scale floating is hard to see how this. We've not seen yet how the supply chain can react to make that happen. So,
and what do we need to do as an industry to get the supply chain to where it needs to be?
I think the need, from our point of view, the signals from government that projects can be viable on the time frame that they're targeting. So that means visibility about grid connections, visibility about what the subsidy regime is going to look like, so that people can really make investment decisions with a clear economic basis to build their projects. So at the moment, there's a bit of flux about, where the CFD process is going to go, how quickly grids build out can get there to deliver these projects. So, if the grid, for example, is behind the delivery timeline of these projects, then projects are going to push further and further to the right, and that would be unfortunate because there's a lot of appetite from developers to just get on and build these projects. So for us, we want to be building the next phase project in the Moray Firth before 2030, but it's not entirely in our hands whether that's possible or not.
So it sounds to me like we need the government to take a real strategic view of this industry and provide the industry with certainty, so that really then the project developers and then the supply chain can really step up and start investing. Yeah,
I've seen all these big strategic, pillars of the industry line up in complete alignment with each other. So whether it's this, the route to market regime through CFD, grid upgrades, the consenting process, if all of those are setting the same targets and on the same path, then the supply chain and developers can take confidence from that and make the necessary investments that they need to make. Because to reach those targets by 2030, it really requires massive investment in the supply chain this year, next year, 2026, to actually make it all happen. So the concern is that that's not coming together as it should, but we'll see.
Okay, we'll see. And of course, we've got a general election coming up as well, and it'll be interesting to see how that affects the picture too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that could be a positive as well. So, or just a continuation of maybe a bit of the uncertainty at the moment. So we'll see.
Who knows? Watch this space.
Yeah.
Okay, Peter. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you very much. Cheers.